There's no cat today because it's too warm outside. I might add some footage of her doing her thing. It's lonely without her, I'll be honest. I had a really enjoyable chat this morning with some new friends, Brad and Osh, who live just around the corner. I thought I'd share some of our conversation because it involves something that I've been thinking about a lot and I've noticed myself talking about with more and more people, and I thought it might be helpful. I don't think there's ever been a time in my life where, for right or for wrong, the world feels like such a scary, inconsistent and volatile place. And I realized that I've never spent quite so much time with quite so many different people where the subject is how worried they are about the future. Whether that's war or politics or economics or technology. So many people seem to feel like they're caught in a spiral completely outside of their control, and they're waiting for a sense of normality to return, and I don't know if it ever will. That's how I used to feel. But I don't anymore, and the solution that I accidentally came across was just so simple. I wanted to share it with you. What I do now is I read books, and I don't look at my phone unless I have to. How has this seemingly very simple thing changed my life? 1. Reading books and reading fiction in particular is a healthy alternative to your phone. The primary reason we feel anxious all the time is that we're being bombarded with negative information. Now, at Christmas, I discovered a fact that made me feel sick. I don't know the science behind this. I don't know if it's true, but it felt true enough. It said that someone had projected that the average 25-year-old today would spend 87% of their spare time between now and when they died looking at a screen. And I would have just laughed and said that was outlandish, except that you get those screen time results, right? And it was just telling me I was watching YouTube 4 or 5 hours a day. I stopped watching YouTube on my phone that day. I just stopped. I kept on involuntarily visualizing myself as an old man dying, realizing that almost everything that had happened in my life had taken place in my peripheral vision while I was staring at a little piece of glass, getting angry about people I don't know, or seeing people do something that I wanted to do but probably never would. I'd also gotten really annoyed with the number of situations where I found myself, looking for a podcast to do the washing up to for longer than the washing up would take. Having these tasks where finding something to distract myself during them would take way longer than the task itself. I kept asking myself, do you really hate spending time with yourself that much? Are you really that scared of your own thoughts that you will fill any silence with noise to avoid having them? So I decided I'm going to keep a book with me at all times. And every time I get the urge to look at my phone, I'm going to start reading instead. And that wasn't just about YouTube. That was about emails, texts that I didn't need to look at right then, podcasts. The results were absolutely beyond anything I imagined. Within a day, I was sleeping better. I had less racing thoughts. I was spending less time waking up in the night with a uncontrollable brain. I didn't feel like the world was going to end anymore. And I started enjoying doing more normal stuff without that distraction. And in some ways it was liberating, not treating yourself like a small child who absolutely requires distraction every time that they do anything. It kind of boosts your self-respect. And as a side note, I don't want to get too off track, but it also made me realize something else. Being able to participate in politics and political thought the way that we can in a democracy is an unbelievable privilege that very few people in history have ever had. And I don't want to discount that. But I came to the conclusion that, at least for me, and in my observation, a lot of the people around me, most political news and political commentary is simply a soap opera for clever people. We take these people who we will never know and who our actions, thoughts, feelings will never affect, and we turn them into main characters in our own lives, into people with the almost unique power to affect our emotional landscape and our everyday thought processes in a way that we would think was insane and utterly comical were it Granny fulminating about the latest thing Kit Green has done on Coronation Street. But what's the difference? Ultimately, they're the same. They're characters in a soap opera, and we're getting really upset without being able to do anything about it. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying you shouldn't be an activist. I'm not trying to trivialize stuff. I'm just saying getting really upset all the time about these things isn't healthy. Moreover, I've noticed people getting really, really upset over stuff that in a few hours' time has been supplanted by something else to get upset over. And in a week's time, they won't even remember what was causing them so much emotional turmoil. Why do that to yourself? Whose life is it improving? I don't think it's healthy, or at least I don't think it was healthy for me. So what's a healthy thing to do instead? Well, books, and fiction in particular, is a far more healthy alternative. And the main word here is alternative. You need something else to do. The alternative to poor eating choices isn't never eating again. And the solution to being distracted and overwhelmed and upset by your phone isn't trying to become the kind of person who just is never distracted again. It's about finding a healthier and more focused distraction that helps build your immunity to racing thoughts and over time subtly helps you develop the ability to concentrate on one thing. I urge you to try it if it feels at all interesting. And if you can, read a real book, not a Kindle, not an audio book. At least for me, they go in one ear and out another. Reading a book is spending real time in the real world with a real thing that you can keep forever. It's a different experience and it will make you feel better. 2, there are more good books than there are good anything else's by a country mile. How often have you felt or complained that there's nothing good to watch on Netflix or Prime or Hulu or Disney Plus? There's a solution to that, a really easy one. Do you know what lasts as long as a TV show, but is probably better? That's right. We have millennia of really good books. No other medium will ever catch up. And printed fiction has been the cheapest form of entertainment for hundreds and hundreds of years. Not just to purchase, but also to create. Most fiction is the work of a single human being, not an army of technicians, not a conference room filled with lawyers and financiers, all with their own agenda. It is the product of a single person who simply has something interesting to say. Good fiction is simple, it is accessible, and it is pure. A good book will be so much more considered from beginning to end than almost anything you could ever watch on Netflix. 3, you learn things about people and places outside of your own time. With the right work of fiction, you can feel yourself chiming with someone from beyond the grave in a way that feels like magic. It's like time traveling and discovering a new best friend all at once. I think it's also a tremendous ability to learn how to better understand and empathize with people from different eras. It's like taking an improviser's yes and instead of a academic's no, wrong approach to different places and times. We are all flawed and judgmental and do bad things. We live in a world with rules that we don't question and yet others would find utterly abhorrent. We're all hypocrites filled with paradoxes. We could all do better. We also have the capacity to express absolutely unique insights that make each other's lives richer. Discovering a long gone writer who plucks a thought out of the air that you thought only existed in your head is the most wonderful secret you can possibly discover. And you realize that pretty much everyone in every period of history thought that they were the first people to, get it right. And all of the things that really concern you in life and feel unique to this time and place, they were worried about all of those things too. Closing yourself off from all of that for any reason is a bit like saying that you'll only accept advice from people you personally know and like. It's limiting. 4, fiction makes and keeps you interesting. Reading is a skill that anyone can get good at. Not only that, in a world that seems to be obsessed with how many things you can only do really well when you're young, it's a skill that you continue to develop and improve throughout your entire life. That's pretty great. Reading is one of those few things where time is your friend, because the more you read, the more you have to talk about. You'll have found more things you loved. Moreover, no one will have read everything that you have. Your reading will make you unique. It's like a fingerprint. And fiction, unlike nonfiction, cannot be summarized. That's really important. Fiction is about nuance and experience. And if you just strip that out and say, well, this happened and that happens, you lose the entire purpose of the book. It isn't about the base units of information. There is no bullshit hack, It's about spending time doing something that you love, and that accumulates over time like compound interest. A love of fiction builds communities. It builds relationships. I don't think anything establishes a connection with another human being quicker than a shared love for a particular work of fiction. Novels are fun to talk about, and they add to your experience and your enjoyment of life. 5, you can have an impact. There's every kind of fiction you can imagine, but the thing that you like most, the authors you like, are far more affected by sales, by encouragement, by your positive word of mouth than any other form of artist in any other form of art. And if you go into independent bookstores and buy the author's books who you really like in hardback, and you go to their book signings, or you tell other people about how good their books are, over time, they're going to make a little bit more money, and the publisher's going to get a little bit more money, and the booksellers are going to get a little bit more money. And what's going to happen? The authors are going to write more books like the ones you like. The publishers are going to look for more books like the ones you like. The booksellers are going to make bigger bookstores with more shelves devoted to the kind of fiction that you like. It's a positive sum game. Everybody wins. Buying a book is like buying stock in the culture of the world. Everybody who participates gets a dividend. Everybody, even those who don't participate, end up enjoying the TV show when it's adapted, or the movie. Spoiler alert, it won't be as good as the book. They never are. Going into a bookshop and buying a novel is a positive sum game. The only time it isn't is when we're not honest about our feelings about books. And you can't trust the quotes on the covers, I'm sorry to say. So that's why I started a review channel. I don't really want to plug it here. I wanted to encourage you to go out and buy a book. So reading is, in my experience, the single easiest way to improve your life. And I say that because it's improved mine. Fiction is the single most powerful way to learn, to empathize, to step into the shoes of others. And I mean, The barriers to entry are so freaking low. All you need to do is be able to read. I don't think that there's a bookstore in the world that won't contain at least one author who writes something that you will genuinely love and that will change your life. And if any of this sounds attractive to you, even if you think I'm exaggerating wildly, I urge you, just give it a try. Go down to a bookstore. If you can go to an independent bookstore, that's even more awesome. And pick out one or two titles. Work out what will keep me off YouTube or Instagram or TikTok for a couple of hours for the next week. Browse the books. Make sure that you're happy. Don't take anybody else's word for it. Read the first chapter and see if you dig it. And see how it goes. See how you feel. See if it makes you feel better than spending all of that time on your phone. And if it doesn't work, you haven't lost very much, and you can come back and call me a dick. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and happy reading. I'll catch you in the next one.